Welcome to Missouri Pacific. Your application for employment has been accepted. After reviewing your qualifications, we feel you have the potential to perform the duties for which you have been selected and to contribute to a safe and efficient operation of this company. For the next few moments, we will acquaint you with some of the things you will encounter on the railroad. In the first few weeks you spend with us, you will probably learn more about the railroad industry than you will throughout the remainder of your career. The more interest you display and the more you learn, the more valuable you will become.
I know what you people are facing. I've been there. I'm David Bates, locomotive engineer on the Palestine Division. I'm also a fireman, hostler helper, and a hostler. I guess you know by now that today you may be an engineer on a red ball freight train, and tomorrow you could be called as a hostler helper. The helper does about everything a brakeman does and more, except instead of switching boxcars, the helper switches engines. He handles switches, gives signals, gets on and off moving engines, couples and uncouples, sets handbrakes, couples and uncouples all of the hoses between the units, and wrestles with the jumper cables. In most places, the helper must fuel and water, sand, and supply the engines.
Now, let's look at some of the features of the new yard and terminal system. Information communicated between the yardmasters, engine foremen, and clerks is as important in the yard and terminal system as it is in the yard car control system.
Now, using this equipment, I'll run several YATS functions to demonstrate how you can perform the same jobs with YATS that you presently do with YCC. A YATS function is a two-character code that represents a set of instructions to the mini-computer, similar to the event codes used to make TCS reports. We'll start with the AD, or Add to Inventory, function. Let's use a deck of CMC cards representing an inbound train that has been verified against the waybills and updated with the proper information. I stated previously that the computer automatically assigns the next track destination for cars appearing on a switch list, which saves the manual effort expended with yard car control. To make a next track assignment, the computer performs two steps, using an internal CMC data to block table and a block to track table. The computer checks the CMC information for a car and finds block key point 27. Then, using the CMC data to block table, converts the 27 to block number 1. Next, the computer checks the block to track table, finds block number 1, and converts to track number 18, the destination track. Terminal operating officers and other employees provide local switching and blocking pattern information for the computer track assignment tables. Often, more than one CMC data element is used to determine the block. For example, a load for U-Spot 83, MX283, could have block number 3, and a TOFC load for U-Spot 83, MX283 could have block number 4. Block 3 cars would go to track 20. Block 4 cars would go to track 21. The computer checks all CMC data elements for each car, just as you do with YCC, before assigning the next track destination.
Yard car control, a punch card-oriented system, maintains the sequence of the cars on all tracks within a yard. When a railroad car arrives at a terminal, or on an inbound train, or from an interchange delivery, a card is key punched containing the information about the car, the contents of the car, and how the car will be handled while in the yard. Handling information includes the destination U-Spot or zone track spot designation. The card is then used by yard office personnel to print switch lists for the yardmaster to be used in classifying cars. The yardmaster marks the list with the track destination for each car and gives the list to a switch crew who uses it for switching the cars.
This videotape has been prepared to enhance the safety of the men who maintain our locomotives and our cars, and so that we all may better understand how these craftsmen, carmen, machinists, electricians, and other mechanical personnel are protected while on, under, or between equipment that could be moved.
Fort Worth is also the site of one of the nation's most advanced railroad classification yard, the Missouri Pacific Centennial Yard, a multi-million-dollar structure which was completed in 1971. It is a gravity or hump classification facility utilizing the most modern concepts of electronics and digital computerization. It is capable of classifying 3,000 freight cars daily. 42 trains are made up in this yard every day of the year. It is a superb place to watch the making of a train.
Your railroad is a common carrier, and as such must transport many commodities classified as hazardous, including petroleum and chemical products. Your railroad is the largest single carrier of such hazardous products. While we can never be 100% safe with these products, either in their manufacture, their transport, or their use, modern safety methods and controls can reduce the hazards to a minimum. In recent years, railroad disasters involving flammables and compressed gas have made headlines and have created concern for safety. Your railroad has a responsibility to make the transport of dangerous commodities as safe as possible.
MoPac is the Missouri Pacific Railroad. But railroad really doesn't tell the whole story, because MoPac is a lot more than trains and tracks. MoPac means trucks, too, thousands of them, backed by a network of modern freight terminals. It means intermodal service, containers moving by boat, truck, and rail. It means piggyback, too, putting trailers on trains. It means handling small shipments as well as large ones.
This is the official insignia of Missouri Pacific Lines, one of the nation's largest railroads. Behind it stands many a decade of railroading in the Midwest and Southwest, years of peace and prosperity, critical years of conflict and confusion. But these were also years of progress, pioneering, experimenting to set the modern pace in transportation. Missouri Pacific set the modern pace in passenger transportation with the Eagles. Not just a new look, but new speed, new safety, and new special attention to passengers' comfort and convenience.
The mechanics of intermodal, however, are as unique and innovative as the railroads which developed the concept. One such railroad is the Missouri Pacific, a railroad born as intermodal was born. A railroad quick to adopt intermodal services and quicker still to lead in applications of the intermodal concept. The history of MoPac contains the history of intermodal, and a look at both results in an understanding of their shared vision, a total transportation company. MoPac appeared in 1852 under the guise of Pacific Railroad, the first railroad west of the Mississippi. Its first locomotive was built in the east and traveled by ship to New Orleans, by steamboat to the St. Louis levee, and by Hostler to its tracks 14 blocks away. An auspicious birth with intermodalism as midwife. At the time of MoPac's birth, circuses had been using a forerunner of wheels on rail for 25 years. Flat cars had carried circus wagons since the early 1830s. In 1856, the term circus loading was coined to name the practice of backing the circus trailers up portable ramps onto flat cars.
Once upon a time, but within the memory of this generation, freight trains looked like this, remember? And passenger trains looked like this. It was the age of steam, when locomotives were big, black and powerful, when they streaked through the countryside with their precious human cargoes, or with some 5,000 tons of freight in 80 or more cars strung out behind them. The locomotives burned coal or oil, but regardless of what fired their boilers, it was high-pressure steam that turned their drivers.